Welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to another weekend preview, and it looks like it could be the last weekend without fans, fingers crossed. But anyway, let's get straight into it, and we're starting off at Selhurst Park on Friday night between Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Both teams having a fairly average start to the season. Palace in 11th, I don't think they'll be too disappointed. Newcastle in 15th, maybe they'll like to be a couple of places higher. But I do think there's not a lot to choose between the two sides. But I do think Palace having a home advantage will give them the edge, which is why I'm going to say 2-1 to Palace. Next up at the Amex, it is Brighton versus Liverpool. Brighton, they're having a bit of an iffy start to the season, down in 16th, but I think they have been unfortunate in a way. Liverpool in second, right on Spurs' heel. So they're definitely in good form, but we just can't ignore the injuries. They did have Salah back, but did have a really disappointing loss in the Champions League, so we don't know how that affected them. But I do think they will have a bit too much for Brighton, which is why I'm going to predict a fairly comfortable 2-0 scoreline. At the Etihad, Manchester City take on Burnley. Burnley, although they did get a huge win against Crystal Palace on Monday to lift them up into the relegation zone in 5th, it still will be a very tough ask. Man City 13th, just really haven't got going yet, but I expect them to really any time now. If they win their game in hand, they're up to 7th, which still isn't great, but I do think they will get a fairly comfortable win here and go back to their old Man City way. So I'm going to say a 4-0 home victory. Everton take on Leeds at Goodison Park. Everton 3-2 win at Fulham. Some makes it a bit fortuitous. Leeds 0-0 with Arsenal. Bit disappointing maybe, considering Arsenal had 10 men, of course, due to that ridiculous Nicola Pepe tackle. Leeds in 14th started sliding a bit. They want to reverse that. Everton in 6th as well. You could say they're sliding a bit as well. But I do think Everton will have a bit too much quality for them, which is why I'm going to predict a 2-1 home win. West Brom take on Sheffield United in a bottom of the table clash. Both teams losing. Man United beat West Brom 1-0 at Old Trafford, which was not a bad result. West Ham 1-0 victors at Sheffield United, and that was really poor for Sheffield United, and they'll be desperate to turn it around. But to be honest, I just think this is going to be extremely scrappy. No team will want to lose, which is why I'm going to predict a draw. I think it will be 1-1. I do think we will get a goal, maybe. At Old Trafford, Manchester United take on Southampton. Sorry, it's at St Mary's. Both teams on a great run of form. Man United have won the last 3. Southampton are unbeaten in well over 5 games. Southampton in 5th. What a start to the season they're having. Ralph Hasenhuttl doing a great job. United moving up the table now in 10th. They're really starting to pick up a bit, and I'm looking forward to this game. It should be quite an entertaining game, really. I do think they will share the spoils, so I'm going to say Southampton 1, Manchester United 1. At Tottenham, play Chelsea. Tottenham, of course, top of the league. Great start to the season. Chelsea, they 2 points behind them. They really seem to be getting into their rhythm recently, which is why I think this is going to be an incredibly close game. So I'm going to say Chelsea and Tottenham will probably draw. It's just a question of the scoreline, really. I think it'll be 1-1, but this is definitely the game that I'm most looking forward to this weekend. Arsenal host Wolves at the Emirates on Sunday, and this is an interesting one. Both teams are on the greatest run of form. Arsenal and Wolves both drew their last fixture and lost the one before that. Arsenal in 12th, really bit of an iffy start to the season, need to bounce back from that silly Pepe incident. Wolves 9th, think around about where they'll be this year, so it'll be an interesting one. I do think they will play out a draw, and I think it'll be 0-0. I think it'll be quite scrappy, if I'm honest. Leicester take on Fulham on the Monday Night Football. Leicester lost their last game, as did Fulham, but it was against Liverpool, so maybe we can let them off. They still had a great start to the season. They sit 4th, just 2 points off the lead. Fulham in 18th, just really not going their way at the moment. Penalty taking seems to be the biggest issue, but we'll see how they recover from that. But I do think Leicester will pick up a win here, and I think it will be comfortable. I'll say 2-0 home. West Ham take on Aston Villa. West Ham on a great run of form, won the last 2. Aston Villa lost really disappointing to Brighton, so they'll be looking to bounce back from that. This is quite an interesting game. 2 really evenly matched sides. Villa just a point advantage, but have played a game less. But I do think this will be a really close game, and I can see the two teams cancelling each other out, which is why I'm going to predict a 1-1 scoreline. London derby on a Friday night in London, of course. Brentford take on QPR. Brentford, they're really starting to pick up at the moment, into ninth now. Good win against Barnsley. QPR in 13th, definitely climbing up the table too. So I'm looking forward to this. Two teams in a fairly decent run of form. So let's see what happens here. I do think Brentford will be the stronger of the two sides, and I do think they will get a 2-0 victory, but maybe it won't be easy as the scoreline suggests. Reading take on Bristol City at the Medeski Stadium on Saturday lunchtime. I swear Reading at every Saturday lunchtime at the moment, probably because they started the season too well. These were the two runaway leaders actually. Both have been on a downward spiral a bit since then, but Bristol City are on a great run of form, 10 from the last 12. Reading crucially stopped the rot against Millwall, and they'll be looking to build on it here. But I'm expecting a really close game here, nothing really much to separate the two sides, which is why I do think they will draw one apiece. Birmingham host Millwall at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Both teams are draw specialists at the moment. Millwall have drew the last 4 somehow. Birmingham have drew the last 2, so surely it's going to be a draw. I genuinely do think it will be a draw. Birmingham 17th. Yeah, not a great start for them. Millwall 10th. Seems to be falling away a little bit, but I think they'll be relatively happy with their start. But as I said, I do think they will draw here, and I'm going to go for the classic 1-1. I do think there will be goals. Blackburn are playing Barnsley at Ewood Park next. Blackburn coming off a great win against Preston, and they're 4 unbeaten now, so they're on a good little run. Barnsley have won their last 2 before the loss to Brentford, so we'll see if they pick up. But Blackburn in 12th, they're really starting to make a mark with the attacking players they do have. Barnsley did pick up, but now they seem to be dropping down a bit. So I do think it will be a Blackburn win, and I'm going to say it will be 2-0. Next up, Cardiff are taking on Luton at the Cardiff City Stadium. Cardiff, really disappointing loss to Coventry, if we're being honest. Luton, I think they could have won that game against Birmingham, but that really could have gone either way, to be honest. But looking on paper, I do think Cardiff probably do have the slightly stronger side, which is why I am going to predict a Cardiff win. But that's not a besmirch on Luton. They've had a great start to the season, but I do think it will finish 2-0 to Cardiff. Derby host Wycombe at Pride Park in what is an absolutely huge game for Derby. It does look like John Terry's going to come in as their new manager, which I really don't think is a great appointment at all. So yeah, but Derby lost their last 1, 2, 3, 4 games now and haven't won in over 6 games. Wycombe seems to be 2 draws in a row. That's really solid for them. Seems to be getting better every game, but I do think this game is so important for Derby. I am going to predict a 2-0 victory for them. Sheffield host Middlesbrough at the John Smith Stadium Saturday 3 o'clock. Middlesbrough, what a great run they're on. 6 goals conceded in 13 games. It's just absolute madness. Pushing for a playoff space in 7th now. What a job Neil Warnock has done. To be honest, it's just been expected. One of the best managers out there. Huddersfield just so inconsistent at the moment. Win 1, lose 1. So I think 16th is probably a fair position. And I do think Middlesbrough will have a bit too much for them here. So I am going to predict a narrow 1-0 win. Clean sheet for Mr. Warnock. At Carrow Road, Norwich host Coventry. Norwich really on the march at the moment. Found their form, won 4 of the last 6, drew the other 2. Coventry, great win over the midweek, but I think Norwich are just too strong at the moment. Some players they've got, Buendia, Pukki, Krul in goal. It's just a great squad, and I do think they will have far too much for Coventry here, which I'm going to predict a really comfortable 3-0 home win. Next up, Rotherham take on Bournemouth at the New York Stadium. Rotherham have lost the last 2 now, which is concerning, but Bournemouth definitely on the up. Another team that has just had a great squad. Danjana, Brooks, all brilliant players at championship level, hence why they won the last 3, and I fully expect them to keep this roll going here and pick up I would say probably a comfortable win against alright Rotherham side, but nothing really anything special, which is why I'm going to say 2-0 to Bournemouth. Sheffield Wednesday hosts Stoke at Hillsborough. Sheffield Wednesday, great point at Swansea. Tony Peters will be happy with that against for his first points, now coming up against his former side, who were quite unfortunate against Norwich, especially in the second half. First half they were awful. But yeah, I do think both teams will be targeting this game as winnable, which usually means I think they will play out a tentative draw, and I think that's what will happen here. I'm going to predict 1-1. Watford host Preston next up at Vicarage Road. Watford, they're doing alright at the moment. Still not quite mixing up with the other two teams like I expected, but they've winless in 2, or we could say unbeaten in 4, whatever way you like to look at it. Preston are just the funniest team out. Literally won all of their away games, lost all their home games, which surely would indicate a Preston win, right? I'm not so sure. I don't think they will get a result here. I think Watford's just such a tough place to go in this league, so I'm going to say a 2-0 home victory. Next up, Forest take on Swansea at Forest, I believe, the City Ground on Sunday, the only game on Sunday, and such a hard one. Swansea have been a bit inconsistent, picking up a few poor draws recently. Forest just not great over the course of the season, so I'm interested to see which way this one goes. I do think it will be a really close game. I can't decide between a draw and a Forest win. Swansea win. I'm going to say a draw, 1 apiece. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Remember to follow me on Twitter, link in the description below for daily football news, and subscribe to my channel on the screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.